Mrs. Newmeyer back here again with your hands-on science projects. Now, the last 6 weeks we spent learning about our body, and it was really fun. We got to do experiments each week to learn about a different part of our body. Now we're going to be moving into a different type of project. We're going to be learning about the organs throughout our body and assembling a model of the body. We're going to be using this book, My Body, and we're going to be coloring and cutting out each of the major organs and assembling it together in a file folder of a model. Now, if you'd like to learn more about the body at home as you go along, each week as we learn about the different organs, feel free to learn more. This is a really great resource I wanted to tell you about to learn more and get more in depth if you're interested in learning more about the body parts we're going to talk about. Now, I'll show you the project we're going to be working on. You're going to each receive a top and a bottom to a body. And you're going to cut those out like I have done already. And you're going to paste them into a file folder that you'll be given by your tutor, like this. All right, and so you can close it. You can make something to decorate the front if you like, and then you'll be able to open it up. And this is where we'll be putting each of the pieces of the body that we're going to be learning about in the coming weeks. Our first week, we're going to be learning about 4 of our different parts, starting with the human brain. So as you're learning about each of the different organs, I welcome you to be coloring along and listening to different things that we learn about the body. So we're going to start first with the brain. All right. Our brain is an amazing and oh so important organ. Now I want to show you these pictures here I have. Here's some pictures of what the brain looks like. Let's see if I can get it without the glare. There we go. All right. Our brains weigh about 3 pounds. And they're about the consistency of like cold oatmeal. Yeah, kind of gooey like that. It's one of the most complex organs in our body because it controls so much. It controls our movements, our bodily functions like breathing, moving, walking, talking, smelling, singing. You get the picture, right? Seeing, listening, I could go on. It controls so much of our body. It's the center of our intellect where we learn, and then also our consciousness, and we think and we feel. It's composed of all kinds of complex nerve fibers that go throughout our body to inform our body of what we are to do. Now, see if you can see that. We've got the glare again. Okay, see how it's connected to our spinal cord here, and the nerves go out throughout our entire body to send messages to our body about what we want to do. So if we think something, I want to move my hand, then we think it, and it sends those messages and says, hey, hand, I want you to move. Pretty cool, huh? It also controls things like our breathing that we don't even think about. We don't even know that we're needing, to think about breathing or making our heart go and all those things. So there's parts that we know and are in control of, and then there's parts where we don't even realize that our body is and our brain is making happen. Now, let's go over some of our memory work we've covered already that have to do with the brain. All right, do you remember this one? What are the parts of the axial skeleton? Now, this is the part that protects our brain. Do you remember what it is? Skull, right? We've got that bone up here in our skull to protect our brain from things coming at it. Because as we learned, it's so important. We need to protect it. So that's our skull. All right, here's the next one. What are the parts of the nervous system? Remember that one? Our memory work, 3 parts. Brain, spinal cord, and nerve. Yeah, the things we just talked about, right? Our brain sends messages down to our spinal cord and out to our nerves to the rest of the body so that we can talk, walk, eat, drink, sleep, all those things that we do. Okay, now we're going to talk about our next body part. Our next body part is the heart. Go ahead and start coloring, and I'll tell you about the heart. Now, the heart is like a pump. It's constantly working to make sure that our body has everything it needs. Now, a lot of times we can refer to it as cardiac. Now, you might have remembered that word from some memory work we had a couple of weeks ago, right? Do you remember the 3 types of muscle? And one of them was cardiac. Our heart is mostly made of muscle. Cardiac muscle is what we call it. And as it continues to pump and pump and pump, it sends all the nutrients and the oxygen that we need to the rest of our body. Now, it's about the size of a clenched fist. So if an adult holds their fist like this, clenched, that's about how big it is. And it lies on the side of our midline to the left. Now, a lot of times we always think of it in the middle, like if we're pledging allegiance, we put it over our heart. It's actually over to the side. Now, you may remember being at the doctor and they listen to it. Sometimes they listen more over here than in the middle, right? That's because that's where it actually is. And the base of the heart where you can hear it the most is kind of down here. The little apex is the part here, lies down more this direction on our bodies. So there's 4 chambers in the heart we can see here as illustrated in this picture. There's 2 atria and 2 ventricles. The atrium, we call it atria if you say it plural, but each of the atriums is where the blood is received, and the ventricles are where the blood is pumped out of. Now, oxygenated blood comes into the heart from the lungs, and that's where it's showing where it's like the red blood, as if it's the good blood because it has lots of oxygen in it, and then the heart pumps it out to the rest of the body. It comes back to the heart from the rest of the body as deoxygenated blood, basically with the oxygen taken out of it because it had already been through the body and given all that oxygen to where it was needed, and then it gets pumped to the lungs so that the lungs can give it the oxygen it needs so it can come back to the heart so the heart can pump it out to the rest of the body. Amazing. So amazing. Now, let me show you another cool picture of the heart. That was because this one was kind of a cartoon version. Here's a pretty cool picture of a heart and showing the atrium that comes out of here, the aorta, that comes over out of the heart, which is right here, and the arteries that come out, and just kind of a cool picture to show the anatomy of the heart. All right, one more picture I want to show you that really demonstrates how the heart is part of what we call the circulatory system, and we're going to be learning about that in our memory work next week in week 8 on the parts of the circulatory system, of which the heart is one of. And if we can see here, the blood goes to the rest of the body, and they color it red so we can see that that's the blood that's oxygenated, has oxygen going out to the rest of the body, and then the rest of it goes back to the body, to the heart, ready to get more of that oxygen so that it can continually go throughout the body and get all of the nutrients and oxygen to the body parts that it needs. What a powerful organ we have in our heart. I have a question for you before we start our next body part. Do you recognize what these are? Kidney beans. Does that give you a clue of what we're going to be talking about next? We're going to be talking about our kidneys. Now, we don't really talk about our urinary system as much, and especially our kidneys, but they're very important, as you're going to see. The kidneys, let me show you on our coloring sheet. We're going to color these two here. The kidneys. Now, remember what color were they on our can? In our kidney beans are named after the kidney because they're the same color as our actual kidneys and a similar shape. So go ahead and color these, and you can use a dark brown, like almost, or a dark red, almost brown color for those. And then our bladders here, we're going to talk about as well. They're part of the urinary system too. So go ahead and color that as well. Now, our kidneys are an important part of our body because they filter our blood. I have a filter here. This is a strainer, but it's like a filter. So if you have something that you want to take, say you're making something and you want to filter out some of the bigger parts or the parts you don't need and just get the liquid that you do need, or filter out like if you're making soup or something like that and you just want to filter out the broth that you want, you use something like this, which is like the filter in our bodies, which are the kidneys. So what happens here, let me show you a picture, is our blood comes to the kidneys, which are towards the back of our body, in the back, towards our back, like the back side of our body, and they have the blood vessels that go to them, and they filter the blood. They take out the excess toxins, the things that we don't want in our blood. They help filter them out of the blood, and then anything that they don't want, they send as liquid waste down to our bladders. And anything that we do want, the part of the liquid our body does want and wants to use, goes back into the blood so that it can be used by our body. So our kidneys are connected to the bladders, and they send the liquid waste down to them. Now, when that happens, it fills up and sends a message to our brain saying, I need to use the restroom, right? Then when we go use the restroom, we have the muscles in the bladder contract so that we can expel that liquid waste because we don't need it anymore. And then the rest of the blood goes throughout the rest of the body. The good parts they stay in, and the bad parts are filtered out. Man, our body is so amazing. God has made so many intricate parts of our body. It's just so fun to learn about. Okay, now we're going to start assembling our body parts. Our body parts all come from this book, and I have shrunk them down because the ones in this book are meant to be if you're going to do a full body outline of yourself, which would be tracing yourself on a big, huge piece of paper and then making copies of the pages in this book, and you can cut them out and then you'd kind of have a life-size version of yourself. What I've done is shrunk them down so that we can make a file folder size version of our bodies, and then we can keep them like this and fold it up and keep it together. Now, like I said before, you feel free to design something for the cover. You can color it or put my body or whatever you'd like. And then what we're going to do now is we're going to open it up after you've cut out your full outline of your body, and we're going to glue it onto the folder. Then we're going to take our body parts. First, we're going to start with the ones for week 7, which was our heart, brain, kidneys, and bladder, and glue those onto your body. I'll show you how to do that. I've got my glue stick here, and I've already glued on the body. So I'm going to start with our first body part that we talked about, which is the brain. All right, and we're going to put that right up in our skull area. So we just put some glue on there like this. Make sure you get that in there for the spinal cord brain stem. And we'll just put it right there. The next body part we're going to do is our heart. Now there was some instructions on there and coloring it red and blue. So my daughter went ahead and colored this for me here. And we're going to be putting that in the middle of the chest. But remember, it's over off to the left side just a little bit. So we're going to put that on our body right there. So I'm going to be putting some glue on my body, or you can just put the glue on the back side of your body parts and put it right there on the body. All right, our next one are our kidneys and the bladder. So the bladder will go right down here, just above the leg midline there. And then our kidneys go on, it's going to be on the fold, and that's okay, but there's a right one and a left one, so we'll put both of them on like that under the heart. All right, that's it for today. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.